Hello and welcome to this Home Labs video on understanding list comprehensions. So to understand list comprehensions, we first need a list. And the best way to create a list is to use Python's random integer generating functions. So we import random. So this generates a random integer from 1 to 5. So this is a cool trick in Jupyter notebooks. If you press B, you get a cell below the cell on which you have typed in the code. So now let's create an empty list X and we'll add random integers to it. So one way to do it is to use a for loop, and let's suppose I need to add say 10 elements. Then I could create a range like this and loop through it. So I would write the code like this: for x.append random.randint (1 to 5), and if I were to say x here after this, then I would get an array x with 10 random integers, and if I regenerate this, I would get a different array every time. So we put in another cell below this, and now our purpose is to write the same code using list comprehensions. So the way we would do it is, we would still write a for loop, and we would put this inside square brackets. And I would say so what this does is, it loops through this range, and every time it loops through this range, to the square bracket, that is this list, it adds a random integer between 1 to 5. So I could say x is equal to this, and here we go. So this gives us exactly the same result, but using list comprehensions makes the code far more concise. We can also add an if loop to the list comprehension. Now let's have one more problem statement. Let's suppose that we want to filter out this list X for elements which are say less than 3. So the way I will do it using a for loop is to again generate an empty list like this, and then I would like to loop for val in X. If val happens to be less than 3, then append the value to y. So you can see that we took quite a few lines of code to do this, and we could do the same thing using list comprehensions by saying y equal to val for val in X if val is less than 3. So this gives us exactly the same result, but the code is far more concise. So how do we use this? So we have this beautiful video on the pay scales of the Indian government, and there we see a code like this, in which we are trying to search for an Excel file and read it. So I'll just explain that code in a little bit more detail here. So what we're going to do is to first list out all the Excel files in a particular directory. So I do import os, and then I say os.listdir, and in my case I see all these files. So I want to filter out only the Excel files from this. Then I can use list comprehension. So how do I do it? I do it like this: for I in os.listdir, if so this is basically checking whether this particular string sx is present in the string I. I close the square brackets and I make this equal to a variable called Excel. And so now if I were to do Excel, I would get only the Excel files, and if I want to access only this file, I need to do Excel 0. Now let's suppose we want to list out the worksheets present in this Excel sheet. I do import pandas as pd, and then I say pd dot Excel file Excel 0, that is, I am reading the Excel file Excel 0, that is this one. And once I have read it, I want to list out the sheet names. So this tells us that there is only one sheet in this, sheet 1, and I could just do a 0 to get this. So given a folder with Excel files, I can pick out a particular Excel file in that, and given that Excel file, I can pick out the sheet that I want using these two commands. So the next step is to read that particular Excel sheet into a data frame, and here's how we do it. We use the pd.readExcel command, and first we need to give the file name, that's the first argument. So in our case it's going to be Excel 0 or this particular thing, and then we follow it up with the sheet name, and we can copy this from the top. Sorry for the typo. And if you look at the Excel sheet, we want to skip these two rows, and this row is going to be the header, and we want to read from here to here, that is from the columns A to T, and rows are going to go till 43. So here's the code to do that. We use the columns from A to T. We skip the rows. So the header is going to be this top row here, and this level column is going to be the index column. Let's see this as a df. Oops, sorry, I made a typo somewhere. So this should have been the same that it was above. And there you go. Here's our lovely little data frame. And we can do df dot columns to get the column names. We can do df dot info to get the column data types and the number of values, stuff like that. And we can also do df dot d types dot unique to list out the unique data types, which in this case is int64 and float64. So I hope that you found this video useful. So it's a short primer on using list comprehensions instead of writing lengthy for loops, which makes the code far more readable. And I also request you to have a look at our video on the 7th pay commission basic pay, and also hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.